In my past life, both my best friend and I married the very man we were trying to redeem. My best friend redeemed a good-for-nothing thug and personally elevated him to the top of the entertainment industry, making him a beloved movie star. As for me, I paved the way for the cold, impoverished campus heartthrob, and dedicated myself to pushing him to the pinnacle of the business world. But later, under the knife of a kidnapper, both men unhesitatingly chose the first loves they had grown up with. The man who could flip the business world on its head gently embraced the girl and looked at me with eyes full of hate. If it weren't for you using your family background to pressure me step by step, I would never have married someone like you. To me, everything I have now, every single thing, is the humiliation you forced upon me. The movie star, his face twisted in fury, looked at my best friend. If I wasn't afraid you'd hurt me, I would never have tolerated you all this time, letting you trample on my dignity with a few dirty coins. It turns out, what we thought were sacrifices, made with all our hearts, had become, in their eyes, the burdens they bore for the sake of protecting their true love, an inevitable humiliation they had to endure. We were reborn on the day the movie star was cornered in the alley. This time, my best friend and I turned our backs and walked away. This life, we would no longer force ourselves into impossible situations. Upon hearing the sounds of a fight coming from the alley, Roxy and I exchanged a brief glance. Without a word, we both turned to walk away. But someone rushed in to block our path. "Hey, why aren't you helping him?" Mia ignored me and stared at Roxy with righteous anger. "Roxy, we're from the same school. How can you be so cold-hearted?" I stopped and coldly returned her gaze. "Why don't you help, if you're so worried?" Mia choked on her words. She glanced at Kane, who was losing ground, and feigned concern, ready to run towards him. "Kane, she's not helping you." "But I will." Her words echoed, but her feet remained frozen in place. In the next moment, Kane, had a low sigh, pinned to the ground, suddenly lifted his eyes and shouted at her anxiously. "Mia, don't come over. You'll get hurt." Mia froze in her tracks. A few thugs raised their eyebrows, grabbing their clubs, clearly ready to strike Kane. Seeing this, Mia rushed over and grabbed Roxy's hand, her voice trembling with tears. "Roxy, you've always been the most righteous person. Help Kane now. His hands are going to get broken if you don't hurry." Roxy forcefully yanked her hand away from Mia's grip, her brows furrowing in anger. Before she could speak, Kane suddenly lifted his head, glaring at Roxy with seething contempt. "Roxy, don't think that saving me will give you control over me. I will never let you blackmail me again. No, actually, I'd rather sever both my hands than be saved by someone like you." His words sent a chill through both Roxy and me. In the past life, when we saw our schoolmates surrounded, Roxy rushed in without thinking. In the chaos, she took the blow meant for Kane, her hand shattered on the spot, and she could never play the piano she loved so much again. To Kane, that wasn't an act of kindness, it was a deliberate manipulation. How fortunate that this time, Roxy and I didn't think of intervening. As if on cue, to match Kane's defiant words, the thugs swung their clubs down with full force. "Ah!" A scream echoed as Kane's hands were broken at the same time. Once the thugs were done with their lesson, they left. Mia, now feeling braver, ran over, crying as she helped Kane up. Kane let out a low sigh. "Are you okay? How do you feel?" I couldn't be bothered to watch anymore. Roxy and I turned and walked away. But we collided with a tall figure. When I saw his face, I froze for a moment. I never expected. In this life, we had met earlier than planned. Jensen, my husband from my past life. Jensen was wearing a faded shirt. He glanced at Kane, his face filled with pain, before turning his gaze to me with visible disappointment. "Serena." He furrowed his brow and spoke coldly. "I thought you just had a bit of a spoiled attitude. But today I see you're truly heartless, able to stand by while a schoolmate is beaten." He shot a glance at Roxy, his voice growing even colder. "Even stopping your friend from helping." Before I could speak, Roxy couldn't hold back anymore. She stepped in front of me, her anger blazing. "You're a grown man, your own brother's getting beaten. And you didn't do a thing. Why didn't you step in when those thugs were here? Now that they're gone, you come out to point fingers. Do you have no shame? Oh, by the way, hadden påstått en station. You heard, right? Your brother got beat up for not paying his debts. Jensen. You're so righteous, why not use your poor student grad to pay for him? Stop acting so high and mighty. Her words came fast and furious, leaving Jensen pale with anger. After she finished, she grabbed my arm and pulled me away. Jensen pressed his lips tightly together, as though wanting to chase after us and say something. But Kane, limping forward with me as support, interrupted him. Jensen, don't argue with these people. One day, they'll regret it. Despite the pain, sweat dripping from his forehead, he gritted his teeth and spoke coldly. Right. Brother Kane will be the next movie star. Mia nodded eagerly, her tone playful as she shook her little fist in the air at Roxy and me. Is having money really that impressive? Just because you have money, you think you can disregard a classmate's life? What do they have, other than a few filthy coins? Nothing. After speaking, Mia ran up to Jensen, looking up at him with admiration. Jensen, I heard you applied, and you're about to become the first disciple of Troy in 10 years. Who won't be bowing to you in the business world in the future? People like them, who only rely on their family's wealth, will never understand what that means. Jensen's expressions softened slightly, and he patted Mia's head affectionately. He regained his calm demeanor, his gaze lazily drifting to me. Our eyes met, and his expression faltered. After a long pause, as if struck by a thought, he suddenly pulled Mia behind him protectively and glared at me. His voice dark. Some people are no longer related to me in any way. I won't let her use past ties as an excuse to cause any trouble for Mia. My footsteps faltered. It was almost laughable. Did he think I was going to target his first love? Did he truly believe that, just like in the past, I would be hovering around him, taking out my frustration on Mia? I looked at him, only to realize that his words had reminded me of something. Troy. He was my father's old friend. In the past life, I had learned from my father that Jensen's application had been suppressed and never reached the professor's desk. I pestered my father for 3 months to have him intercede. It was only then that the stubborn Troy relented, and agreed to accept Jensen, a student with mediocre talent, on a special exception. And to protect Jensen's fragile pride, I never brought it up. I thought he could figure it out on his own. I never expected. He truly believed that it was all his own hard work. At that moment, Kane hobbled forward, positioning himself in front of Mia. He glared at Roxy, speaking to the girl behind him. Mia, don't be afraid. From now on, I will never let anyone control me. I'll protect you and help you grow safely. Until the car door slammed shut. Roxy had not fully regained her senses. Shuddering slightly, she looked at me with a hurt expression. Serena, do you think, could we have been cursed in the past? I thought back to the crazy things I did in my previous life to chase after Jensen. I nodded in agreement. We were silent for the rest of the ride. As we neared Roxy's family home, she suddenly asked, "What are you going to do?" I was momentarily confused, then realized she was asking my opinion on the 2 men. I leaned back in my seat and whispered, "Do nothing." What? Roxy immediately sat up straight, her fists clenched. But if we don't teach them a lesson, I won't be able to swallow this. I looked out the window, speaking softly. Let them tear each other apart first. Reap the consequences of their actions. And then we'll strike the final blow. Isn't that better? Clearly, the 2 men still arrogantly believed that their achievements came solely from their own efforts, unrelated to the connections we provided or the money we invested. They seemed to think it had nothing to do with us. Well, let them figure it out on their own. Let's see if their so-called talent can take them back to the top. Roxy raised an eyebrow. Not bad. She relaxed, leaning back in her seat. Graduation is almost here. What are your plans? Before I could answer, she chuckled. I almost forgot. You're the only heir to a fortune. What plans? The entire Serena family is yours. I rolled my eyes at her. What about you? Well, a business marriage. Of course. She smiled, her tone casual. My dad called today. Said the little grandson of the Felix family is coming back to the country. You know. The one who's into art. That spoiled heir. He wants me to meet him. But it doesn't really matter. My brother treats me well. He'll make sure I'm not at a disadvantage. As she finished speaking, she suddenly slapped her thigh, startling me. But before that, I need to let loose. For however, plans never keep up with changes. After attending over a dozen parties, Roxy developed acute appendicitis. I rushed her to the hospital overnight, arranged for her to be admitted, and then went to the payment window with her medical form. Just as I pulled out my black card, someone suddenly grabbed my hand. The grip was so strong it made me gasp in pain. Serena. The man's voice, restrained with anger, came from beside me. I told you. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. Take your dirty money and leave. It was then that I noticed. The person standing beside me was Jensen. He looked exhausted. His face lined with fatigue. So different from the charming school heartthrob he used to be. I shook off his hand and frowned. Are you crazy? Is paying the medical fee bothering you? Don't you ever understand what people say? His brow furrowed even deeper as he glared at me. His angry words practically seething through his teeth. Yes. I need money now. But even if you help me today, I won't thank you. I won't bow down to you for a measly million in medical fees and let you humiliate me. Seeing the way he seemed to be suffering some great humiliation, I paused for a moment. Then it hit me. It was around the time when Jensen's father's condition had worsened. In my previous life, when I heard about the Jensen family's troubles, I immediately sent Jensen to Million to solve his problems. At that time, he had hugged me with red eyes, vowing to always treat me well and protect me for the rest of his life. I snapped back to reality, my gaze turning strange. Honestly, if it weren't for this chance encounter today, I would have completely forgotten about that. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. So I bypassed him and slid my card into the payment window. Excuse me. Paying the fee. Jensen, however, followed me closely. His gaze bitter as he muttered with a hint of annoyance. What's the point of you pestering me like this? I've told you. I don't need you. Roxy's family. Are they here? The medicine is ready. A nurse's voice interrupted his unfinished tirade. I quickly responded, took the payment slip and the medicine, and without even looking at him, turned toward the ward. Behind me, Jensen stood frozen in place, his expression one of embarrassment. 3 days later, I accompanied Roxy to handle her discharge paperwork. As we passed a noisy general ward, I instinctively glanced inside. I saw Jensen and Kane, both standing there, Kane's hands wrapped in bandages. I immediately realized, this must be Jensen's father's ward. I quickly pulled Roxy along, trying to leave as quickly as possible. But just then, Kane spotted us. His expression changed, and he strode out of the ward, blocking our path. Eyebrow raised. Roxy came to the hospital to find me? Are you regretting it? He looked at her with disgust. A woman like you, cold-blooded and calculating. Even if you begged me on your knees, I'd still find you repulsive. I'll never forgive you in this life. Roxy was stunned by his sudden verbal assault. She was silent for a moment before finding her voice. Are you okay? Do we know each other that well, that I need your forgiveness? Kane sneered, turning away, as if he were still the untouchable movie star he once was. Roxy, heading fulfilled by a sigh. Remember what you said today. Even if you bring me the best movie scripts in the future, crying and begging me to act, I won't even glance at them. Roxy looked at him in disbelief and was about to retort, but suddenly a male voice full of hurt interrupted from behind her. Baby, who are you planning to have act in my movie? Roxy turned around and froze. I glanced over, and was taken aback to see a handsome man standing next to Roxy. Felix, the new actor Roxy had been nurturing. They had been spending a lot of time together lately. Roxy quickly turned her head, lowering her voice. Aren't you filming abroad? Why are you back so suddenly? Felix gave her a deep look. Well, my girlfriend was sick and admitted to the hospital, so of course I rushed back immediately. If I hadn't asked Serena, You probably wouldn't have told me. Right? He glanced at the stunned Kane with a tone laced with bitterness. Seems like when I'm not around, a lot of handsome young men are flocking around you. Roxy awkwardly touched her nose. Stop joking. That's not the case. Kane, who had finally regained his composure, was enraged by the closeness between the two, letting out a laugh of disdain. Roxy, you couldn't stand the loneliness and already found yourself a new man? He stepped forward, trying to grab Roxy's hand. But Felix, who was taller, quickly held him back, grabbing him by the bandaged injury. Kane stiffened in pain. Felix let go of him, as though just noticing the injury, blinking innocently with his beautiful almond eyes. Oh, so you're injured. When an elder is this weak, maybe you should rest and stop bothering a married woman. He ignored the scowling Kane, and instead focused on Roxy, who was avoiding his gaze. Baby, let's have a proper chat. In the 3 days I was abroad, how many new lovers did you find? He forcefully pulled Roxy into his arms, half dragging her away. I quickly looked away, pretending not to see the pleading look in Roxy's eyes. Beside me, Kane remained standing, staring at their retreating figures, seemingly unable to accept that Roxy had truly disregarded him. He continued watching until her figure completely disappeared. Ben, Mia, from the ward, approached and asked him. Kane, I don't know, sigh. Who were you talking to? Kane didn't respond. Glanced at me one last time. Then, what on a wow, sigh. He turned, his expression unreadable. TCH. I felt an overwhelming sense of boredom. I was ready to leave. But just then, Jensen, who had walked out, called me. Serena. He bit his lip, looking like he had something to say but didn't quite know how. I turned my head away, quickly walking off, not wanting to engage. He moved to follow. But Mia, who had come running out, grabbed his arm. Jensen. Dad's awake. Jensen paused mid-step. Reluctantly, he turned back and headed toward the hospital room. After that day, I didn't see Jensen for a long time. As graduation neared, I began to take on more responsibilities at the family business. In the past, I had been indulged in frivolity and showed no interest in the family's legacy. As a result, the once vast Serena family nearly became Jensen's purse in a empire. This time around, I knew better than anyone that relying on others for hope and resources was the most dangerous thing in this world. At first, when my dad heard that I had taken the initiative to learn the ropes of the company, he was so moved he couldn't hold back his tears. That very day, he rushed to my mother's grave, sobbing uncontrollably. Wife, do you see? Our daughter has grown up. She's become sensible. Serena has your temperament. She'll surely be able to carry on and expand the family business you worked so hard for. The Serena family will have a future. I was left speechless. As for Roxy, she was busy in a whirlwind romance with Felix. As she put it, she wanted to make the most of these last carefree days before the cold, business-driven marriage arrived. She invested in his script, poured money into marketing, and pushed him to the forefront. This fiery, reckless dedication had some echoes of how she had once helped Kane rise to fame as a movie star. I asked her about it. She gave me a casual smile. Don't worry, Serena. I'm not stupid. He's not only better looking than Kane, but he's also sweet and knows how to flatter. He's grateful. And every penny I spend gets me 10 times the emotional return. All I'm buying is my own happiness. After hearing this, I didn't try to stop her. Roxy is someone who loves deeply and hates fiercely. Free-spirited in nature. Her words were likely a sign she'd emerged from the shadow of the past, knowing what she wanted. I wouldn't spoil her joy. If she's happy, that's what matters. After hanging up the phone, I shook my head and picked up the file on my desk. Just then, the secretary knocked and quietly reminded me that the meeting was about to start. I nodded and grabbed my coat. Let's go. As I left the office, passing the meeting area near the elevators, I noticed several people seated in small groups. And in the center, one person stood out. It was Jensen. He was wearing a suit. His posture tall and dignified, his appearance far more striking than anyone else there. Beside him sat Mia, her expression full of curiosity as she looked around, seeing me gaze in their direction. The secretary, ever perceptive, came over to explain. Serena, these are the interns from this year's campus recruitment. Do you happen to know anyone in there? Should I let HR know? No need. Just follow the process. I calmly withdrew my gaze, stepping straight into the elevator. After the meeting, my phone started buzzing like crazy. I frowned. I didn't need to check to know it was my father sending a barrage of messages. He was probably going on about the Evan family again. He'd been nagging me about it for days. I pulled out my phone. And sure enough, Serena. Cooperating with the Evan family is crucial for the Serena family. The Evan heir is in town, so make sure you pay attention. I've booked a restaurant for you. Go and treat them to a meal. The Evan family, a powerful conglomerate ruling over the entire Hong Kong city. Recently, it seemed they were planning to expand their business into the mainland. I rubbed my temples, put the phone away, and had just exited the elevator when a voice, heading fulfilled my sigh, tinged with confusion, rang out. Serena, what are you doing here? I turned to look. Mia was holding Jensen's arm as they stepped out of the elevator together. I glanced at their intertwined hands. Is there something you need? Jensen looked uncomfortable, as though unsure of how to respond to my gaze. He gently pulled away from Mia's hold. Mia pouted unhappily but didn't say anything. She quickly put on a smile and addressed me. Serena, you're not here for the Nanshi internship interview, are you? Seeing I didn't answer, she assumed she had guessed right. She gasped in exaggerated surprise. No way? This is Nanshi we're talking about. A rising star in the tech world. Everyone knows they don't care about background or degrees. They pick based on ability. Even if you're the daughter of the city's richest man, there's no way they'd give you special treatment. I remained silent, watching her. She became flustered under my gaze and snapped. Am I wrong? Or do you want to say you passed the interview? Jensen, who had been silent all this time, suddenly furrowed his brows, staring at me as though trying to figure me out. So what if I did? I casually replied and turned to leave. But Mia wasn't letting it go. She shrieked. Impossible. Jensen, this talented prodigy didn't pass the interview. Yet you, a useless spoiled rich girl, who only knows how to play around, somehow did? Jensen, an Aninadara lo sarai, too, stared at me with a sharp look. It seemed he couldn't understand why, despite performing the same way, I had passed while he hadn't. He had always prided himself on being exceptional, believing me to be nothing but a shallow, empty-headed socialite. I smirked. What's it to you? You. Mia's face flushed with anger. Jensen finally couldn't hold back any longer. His voice was cold as he spoke. Serena, you don't have the ability to pass this. Don't lie to save face. It's pointless. His tone was certain. Huh. I turned to walk away, not willing to argue any further. But Jensen frowned and tried to grab my arm. Serena. Before he could finish, the elevator door opened. The secretary rushed up holding a stack of documents and handed them to me. Serena. You forgot your contract. Serena? Jensen's voice was tinged with shock, his hand instinctively pulling back as if burned. He was stunned, unable to believe what he had just heard. He hadn't known, and it shocked him deeply. Nanshi, the company where he made his debut in the business world, was actually part of the Serena family. After all, the Serena family mainly dealt with medical equipment, and Nanshi had no direct connection to their business empire. Nanshi was a tech company founded by my mother, inspired by the Nan in my name. Only a few in the industry knew of the connection between the Serena family and Nanshi. In the past, to avoid him suspecting, I had never mentioned Nanshi. So Jensen had no idea about this relationship. I seized the opportunity, taking the documents and walking briskly toward the exit. Behind me, Jensen snapped out of his shock and immediately gave chase. His normally composed face now wore an expression of confusion. So Nanshi is yours. Before he could finish, a black luxury car came speeding toward him, forcing him to stop. The car door opened. A tall, cold, aristocratic man stepped out. His gaze swept over the pale-faced Jensen, then turned to look at me. His voice low and deep. "Serena?" I recognized him. The current head of the Evan family, Evan. He was also the person my father had been nagging about for days. He gestured politely. "Mr. Serena specifically asked me to come pick you up." I nodded without glancing back at the person behind me. The car smoothly pulled away. In the rearview mirror, Jensen stood frozen in place, unaffected by Mia's calls, staring blankly at the direction we had gone. Dinner with Evan was comfortable. Perhaps because we were on equal footing. Our thoughts in sync. No need to strain to find conversation topics. Nor to tread carefully, worried about stepping on each other's fragile egos. Afterward, the collaboration between the Evan family and the Serena family progressed rapidly. Evan often called me for discussions. One day, when he came to pick me up, I received a call from Roxy. "Serena, I broke up with him." I froze. Her voice still carried a hint of laughter. "Felix's family's young master is back in the country. My father gave me an ultimatum, said I have to meet with him. After all this time playing around, it's time to stop." She sniffed, as if a little sad. I was momentarily stunned. It was clear that Roxy liked Felix a lot, but that affection wasn't enough. She no longer had the boldness to defy her family. On the other end of the line, she pouted playfully. "Serena, come with me." I hesitated, glancing at Evan. He was watching me. We were close enough, and the microphone was loud enough that he likely overheard a little. "I'll take you." He immediately turned the car around. I nodded, not rejecting him. Roxy's location wasn't far. Less than 20 minutes. I arrived quickly. As I got out of the car and entered the restaurant, Roxy was already there. She quickly came over, linking arms with me, her face beaming. "Why the long face? It doesn't look like you're here to help me with a blind date. More like you're preparing for a fight." It was only then that I noticed how bad my expression was. I forced a smile. About to speak, when she waved her hand dismissively and opened the door to the private room. "Relax. Marriage arrangements are actually pretty good. It's a good match in terms of status. I'm just a bit sad, guess I can't fool around anymore. Baby, we broke up this morning. And now you're thinking about how to fool around?" A man's cold voice interrupted hers. Both Roxy and I froze. The voice belonged to none other than Felix. I raised an eyebrow in surprise. Felix? Of the Felix family. The realization hit me like a flash. The second-generation heir of the Felix family, who'd been working in the arts abroad for years, was Felix? Roxy seemed to realize this at the same time. She gasped and was about to rush out the door. But Felix blocked the door, lifted her in his arms. He turned to me with a polite smile. "Serena, we have some family matters to sort out. You're free to order. Just put it on my tab." He carried Roxy and walked quickly outside. From a distance, I could still hear Roxy's furious yelling. "Felix, you bastard, playing the kept man. You've already tricked me into falling for you. Now you're tricking me out of money, let me go." And Felix's indulgent apologies. I couldn't help but shake my head with amusement. As I was about to leave the private room, I bumped into a group of people coming from the opposite direction. One of them was Jensen. He was walking behind a middle-aged man, grinning and holding the other man's briefcase. He clearly saw me too. In that instant, his smile froze. His back straight, and as if the humility I had just witnessed was a mere illusion. I raised an eyebrow. After graduation, I hadn't paid attention to Jensen. But I had heard from former classmates that, after his application to join Troy was rejected, he had fallen into despair for a while. But he couldn't wallow in self-pity for long. Jensen's father's medical bills were all borrowed, and the crushing interest rates had left him gasping for air. Later, I heard that he had joined forces with several senior classmates with money and started a small studio. Apparently, it was doing quite well. That made sense. Though Jensen was mediocre, the resources and money I had poured into him in my previous life had broadened his horizons, which gave him an edge over his peers. "This is President's arena, isn't it?" Barry, the leader of the group, spotted me immediately, and eagerly stepped forward. I nodded slightly as a greeting. Suddenly, having fulfilled my Barry seemed to have remembered something and turned to Jensen, slapping his shoulder hard. Serena. Let me introduce you. This is Jensen. We graduated from the same alma mater. The guy has great vision and ideas. Noticing Jensen's silence, Barry pushed him. Jensen. What are you doing? Don't just stand there, say hello to President Serena. Jensen's lips tightened. There was anger and embarrassment in his expression. In the past, it had always been others chasing after him, bowing in respect. Even I had been cautious and reverent around him. Now, the roles had reversed. For him to lower his head to me was an incredible humiliation. Seeing that he was still frozen in place, Barry's expression darkened. A senior from the studio urged him anxiously. Jensen. What's the matter? You can barely get into a relationship with someone like President Serena. You'd better hurry up. Jensen's fist clenched and relaxed, and finally, as if resigning himself to his fate, he closed his eyes and reluctantly spoke. Morgan. Only then did Barry smile in satisfaction, bidding me farewell before heading into the private room. Jensen lagged behind. He stood still, looking back at me. His voice was low, and his eyes cold. You saw it without you. I can still achieve great things. After saying that, he walked off confidently, his strides long. I watched their retreating figures, lingering for a few seconds on Barry, then I smiled lightly. I turned around and left. 11 that day. On set, I sat off to the side, watching Roxy and Felix get cozy. Early that morning, Roxy had barged into my house, dragging me out of bed, insisting that I come with her to visit Felix's new production set. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would never have believed it. The usually fiery Roxy was acting all shy. Just as I was feeling helpless, a loud crash came from nearby, followed by someone shouting, "Are you blind? You ruined the costume. You're an extra. Think you can afford to pay for it?" I looked over in confusion. To my surprise, it was Kane. He was working as an extra in this production. It seemed he hadn't given up on his dream of becoming a movie star. Too bad. He would find it hard to replicate the path he took in his previous life. I smirked. In my past life, Kane had debuted as an action star, eventually rising to become the best actor. But now, after his hands were broken and his treatment delayed, he couldn't even lift heavy objects. The old path was impossible to replicate. Without resources or connections, his acting skills and looks weren't top tier. His only choice was to start from the very bottom. As an extra. Humiliated, Kane looked up angrily, but his gaze met mine. He froze. Embarrassed, he turned his head, only to see Roxy and Felix standing intimately beside me. His face contorted instantly, and a look of defeat flashed in his eyes. He nearly ran away, and that was the last I saw of him. Throughout the filming, Kane glanced at Roxy countless times, his eyes filled with longing and complexity. But he was soon alarmed to discover that the woman who once showered him with affection didn't spare him a single glance. She was completely fixated on Felix, staring at him with adoration. When the shoot finally ended, we were preparing to leave when Kane, still mustering his courage, chased after us. Roxy. Our steps faltered as we were about to get into the car. Roxy turned back, and upon seeing him, she attempted to shut the door. But Kane rushed forward, pointing at Felix with a resentful tone. "You're spending money to make this pretty boy the lead. All this effort just to force me to submit. Isn't that right?" He took a deep breath, seemingly gathering all his resolve, and bitterly smiled. "I admit defeat. I'm willing to return to your side. Just give me the lead role in this drama." Roxy furrowed her brow, about to speak, but she was interrupted by the director, who rushed over. The director stood in front of Felix. A flattering smile plastered on his face. "Felix, are you satisfied with today's shoot? We should talk about future investments sometime soon." Felix, playing with Roxy's hand, casually nodded. Kane stood there, stunned, struggling to comprehend the situation. What did you say, director?" Felix? He raised his voice, his emotions getting out of control. Are you calling this pretty boy Felix? Shut up. The director's face turned pale as he slapped the script across Kane's face. Felix is our investor. Watch your mouth. You're getting a pay cut for today. If you do this again, I'll have you thrown out of the crew. Kane's face turned red, and he almost couldn't bear the humiliation. At that moment, Felix turned to Roxy with a pouting expression. Baby, someone wants to take advantage of me and still calls me a pretty boy. Roxy quickly coaxed him into the car, not sparing a single glance at the disheartened man behind her. Time passed quickly, and soon enough, I had officially taken over both the Serena family and Manchi. During this time, our deepening cooperation with the Evan family in the tech sector led Nancy to soar, rapidly gaining momentum, with signs that it was starting to rival the Serena family. As for me and Evan, we became casual friends, able to chat with each other comfortably. It was also then that I learned he and Felix had known each other since their time studying abroad. They were old friends. These days, the four of us often gathered for small get-togethers. At one of these gatherings, Roxy, scrolling through her phone, suddenly tapped me on the shoulder. Hey, having so feel wide session. There's a class reunion tonight. Are you going? I heard Jensen and Mia are together now. She wore a playful expression. Roxy continued. Jensen has started his own company, and it looks like he's taken on quite a few projects from Barry. Business is booming for him. Mia, who had always been attached to Kane, had now turned to Jensen. This time around, he was the one to win the girl. No regrets. Seeing the look of curiosity on Roxy's face, I smiled and didn't comment further. What Jensen did was no longer of any concern to me. But I hadn't expected it. I had made up my mind not to get involved. Yet still, we ran into them as we were leaving. I hadn't realized that the class reunion was being held at this very club, but when I saw that the person organizing it was Jensen's old roommate, Troy, I wasn't surprised anymore. Troy's family owned a small business, so they could easily afford the venue. Jensen, surrounded by a few old classmates, was in the center, laughing and chatting. He was wearing a well-tailored suit, his features full of youthful confidence, and there was something in his demeanor that faintly resembled the former aura of the Serena family president. Mia, beaming with pride, had her arm around him. Our two groups bumped into each other unexpectedly, both sides caught off guard. Troy, always the first to react, chuckled and teased. No wonder Morgan and Roxy couldn't make it. Seems like you two had a date with someone special. His teasing gaze met the cold, piercing eyes of the two men behind us. And instinctively, he took a step back, clearly uneasy. He didn't dare say anything else. And, feeling awkward, led the rest of the group toward the private room. Roxy and I didn't say a word. As we walked past them, Mia suddenly called out to me. Serena, I always told you Jensen was amazing. Just wait. Once the Jensen family goes public, everyone will respect him wherever he goes. She tightened her grip on Jensen, her tone full of boastful pride. Guess she made the wrong choice. Don't regret it later. Jensen, standing beside her, glanced at me with a faint smirk, his posture high and mighty, as if convinced he would soon reclaim his former position, where everyone would greet him with reverence, calling him President Jensen once again. I stopped walking, giving a faint smile. Oh, well, congratulations. As a fellow alumnus, when you two get married, we'll be sure to attend and congratulate you. I ignored the darkening gaze of Jensen, and pulled Roxy, who was fuming and about to argue, away with me. We left the scene without looking back. The class reunion was just a brief interlude. I quickly put it behind me and did back into work. Managing the Serena family, which owns over 100 subsidiary companies, was no easy feat. As for Roxy, I had asked her once if she really didn't have any plans for the Roxy family. She was lounging on the sofa, waving her hand dismissively. My old man gave me 10 of the shares. My brother fought tooth and nail for his 13. I didn't say anything more. She was living freely, and that was enough for her. Now, she and Felix were in a sweet relationship. and her family was thrilled that they had gotten together early. Her father and brother were both very satisfied. All the past, whether it was about Jensen or Kane, gradually faded as we moved into new chapters of our lives. As Roxy said, when you're strong enough and fulfilled enough inside, who has the energy to care about the lives and deaths of ants? If it weren't for Jensen's name suddenly appearing in the news headlines, I might have almost forgotten about him entirely. That day, the Serena family and the Evan family jointly secured the land in the East District. After the bidding, Evan drove me home. And just as I was about to put my phone away, a business news notification popped up. The headline? Jensen. His company had been revealed to be Bird and with billions of debts. And he himself was facing a lawsuit. I gave it a cursory glance and was about to put my phone down, when Roxy's voice message popped up. Did you see it? I raised an eyebrow. Yeah. Revenge is sweet. Isn't it? She laughed loudly on the other end of the line. I knew you weren't upset at the class reunion that day. You were too calm. Weren't you already expecting something like this? I chuckled and replied casually. Barry's company has been in debt for billions. They've been looking for a fool to take over for a while. And that fool was Jensen. I remembered Barry as soon as I saw him. He was the one whom the Serena family's bidding department had recently rejected as a potential partner. I had passed by the bidding department at that time and vaguely overheard the manager angrily cursing. This guy sold off several properties under his name, and still owes a mountain of debt outside. Now he thinks he can sneak into our Serena family's bed and get us to fill his bottomless bet? He's dreaming. To be honest, such trivial matters never bothered me. Neither in this life, nor the last. The Serena family's bidding team was nearly ruthless in its standards. And with them around, I had no concerns. Jensen, of course, was like me. In the past, as a representative of the Serena family, he dealt only with carefully vetted, high-quality partners. Wherever he went, he was always treated like royalty, never having to bother distinguishing these crude tricks. Barry, a small-time businessman, was someone he could never even get close to, let alone care about. This time, without the Serena family's team to protect him, he easily walked straight into someone else's carefully laid trap, and yet, he remained smug, foolishly thinking that with his little abilities, he could build a business empire rivaling the Serena family's. He never considered that in terms of ability, he was quite average. As for background, he had almost none. Why would anyone cooperate with him, let alone give him concessions? Was it because he was Navi? Because he was stupid? After hearing this, Roxy laughed even more wildly. What a double blessing. I was slightly surprised. She stopped laughing and calmly explained. Kane fell from the set. He couldn't save his leg. They had to amputate it. She paused, adding, Oh, not in Felix's production. So we didn't lose money. Kane's life was miserable. Being an extra on set was already full of hardship, but when news of Roxy's engagement to Felix spread, it hit him hard. He tried several times to approach Roxy, but he was beaten back by bodyguards before he could even see her. Dragging his injuries back to the set, he had to endure being treated condescendingly by minor actors he used to ignore. It was like night and day compared to his former glory. In his past life, Kane had been basked in light, with the Roxy family, the top name in the entertainment industry, backing him all the way to become a movie star. Now, he was humiliated in every possible way. The gap between his past life and this one was immense. The frustration and anger that had built up over time finally shattered his sanity. Kane exploded. In a frenzy, having fulfilled my inside, he yelled, Who do you think you are? I'm the movie king. And got into a physical fight with the lead actor. During the scuffle, he grabbed a sharp prop and lunged at the actor. The actor managed to dodge it. But Kane lost his balance, fell from a height of several meters, and impaled his leg on a steel rebar. His leg was shattered, and they had to amputate it. He screamed about wanting the actor jailed, but the result was that the actor was deemed to have acted in self-defense, and Kane was found fully responsible. He didn't get any compensation. In fact, he was now facing a lawsuit for intentional injury. His life was over. 15 On the day the East District building was completed, the Serena family hosted a grand celebration. The guests were political, business, and industry elites. This wasn't my first time organizing such an event. By now, I was doing it with ease. Midway through, Roxy, who had been with me the whole time, finally couldn't stand it. She excused herself and slipped away to get some fresh air. I smiled, not stopping her. She had never been able to handle such events. However, for me, for the Serena family, and for every guest present, this kind of event was a stage for maintaining relationships and a marketplace for power. Perhaps I could even use the opportunity to discuss a few more projects. I turned around, preparing to handle the next wave of guests. But just as I did, I bumped into a young waiter carrying drinks. Looking awkward, I froze for a moment. The waiter was Jensen. It had been a while since I'd seen him. His face was bruised. His body looked much more worn out, and his uniform didn't fit properly. He looked utterly destitute. He stared at me intently, his emotions swirling in his eyes. Serena, I regret it. We could have had it better. We could have been happier. We could have made up for the regret of not having children. His gaze turned to hatred. It's all Mia. That bitch. She kept crying and saying that you were bullying her. Looking down on people like us. I thought. You were just playing me, like she said. So I did. Those stupid things. Now I realize it was all wrong. No one in this world loves me more than you. After Jensen's company was set up, Mia quickly ran off with his last bit of money, caring nothing for the years of friendship they had. This was the pure first love. He had been so reluctant to forget while enduring humiliation to be with me. I waited for him to finish speaking before calmly responding. Jensen, I don't understand why you always say these strange things to me. Even if you were the most popular guy in school, with many girls liking you. I smirked. I remember. We never actually knew each other, did we? The color drained from his face instantly. His expression was full of panic and confusion. He finally remembered. It seemed that in this life, we really hadn't ever met. 16 In my previous life, I had met him when Roxy saved Kane. We met in the hospital. I was visiting Roxy, and he was visiting his brother Kane. With his good looks and fake personality, I had fallen madly in love with him, almost under some spell. But in this life, Roxy didn't save Kane. So, how could we have met? Without that incident, I was just a poor student barely making ends meet, and he was the rightful heir to the Serena family empire. The difference between us was like the heavens and the earth. There would never be any connection between us. Realizing this bitter truth, he staggered back, crashing into a snack table. The wine glasses shattered everywhere. The banquet manager rushed over, ready to scold him. But then he realized. He didn't know this waiter at all. Jensen had sneaked in. The manager was furious. He signaled the bodyguards to drag Jensen to the police station. Throughout the whole thing, Jensen was like a wooden doll, offering no resistance, letting them hit and scold him. He just stared blankly in my direction. But I had already turned away. I entered the crowd, smiling as I clinked glasses with business partners, never looking back at him. The hope in his eyes finally faded. 17 After the banquet, Roxy and I nestled together on the terrace. Thankfully, we're lucky enough. She raised her glass, clinking it with mine. Let's celebrate. We didn't waste this life. I took a sip of my wine, smiling faintly, but said nothing. She suddenly leaned in closer, winking at me. Come on. Tell me. What's going on with you and Evan? I froze for a moment. Before I could even respond, the sound of a car horn echoed outside the villa. We both leaned forward to look. At the entrance of the courtyard, two black Bentleys were parked side by side. Felix stood in front of one, while Evan, dressed in a long black coat, leaned casually against the car door. Felix waved at Roxy. Baby, didn't we agree to go stargazing at the mountaintop? Roxy turned and hurried downstairs. I'm coming. Meanwhile, Evan tilted his head back. In the night, his gaze toward me was calm. Shall we go? I paused for a moment, then smiled, picked up my coat, and followed him. The night breeze was slightly chilly. I thought to myself. At least, in this life, we had unwarvingly redeemed ourselves and found the starlight that was racing toward us. Toward each other. I died 3 years after secretly loving the Buddhist son of Beijing's elite circle. It was the day he chased his beloved in a Maybach on the overpass. The rain poured down like a storm. Clutching my last shred of hope, I stepped in front of his car, only to be coldly ordered by him to have his bodyguards drag me away. In a daze, I heard him say to the beauty in a Chiangzam in the passenger seat, "Ignore the lunatic." The next second, a out-of-control truck ran over my trembling fingertips. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the late autumn of my 20th year, where ginkgo leaves were rustling down onto the blue stone slabs at Jingmian Temple. Hugo, the Buddhist son, stood under the ginkgo tree in a moon-white monk's robe. The 9's Endowal bead bracelets on his wrists weighed gently with his movements. He lowered his eyes to look at me, his eyelashes casting shadows on his eyelids. "Sina, are you done?" The "I like you" that had been on my lips suddenly turned metallic. Like the taste of rust. In my past life, he had stood at the temple gate just like this, saying in a clear, spring-like voice, "We don't need to see each other again." While I cried until I couldn't breathe. Like a clown, my fingertips touched the patterns of the Buddha beads on his wrist, and before I knew it, I blurted out, "Benefactor, your Buddha beads need to be replaced. My name is Sina." I once truly fantasized about a romantic and forbidden love with the Buddhist son of Beijing's elite circle. The day I met Hugo was the anniversary of my mother's death. I had just placed flowers at my mother's grave and was heading down the mountain when a torrential rain suddenly poured down. Seeing the rain grow heavier, I turned and ran into a temple on the mountainside to take shelter. I lost count of how many bean-sized raindrops fell from the eaves, but the rain showed no sign of stopping. Then, let out a low sigh. A beige oil paper umbrella appeared in my line of sight. The umbrella's owner had a pair of bony hands, slender yet exuding strength. When I looked up, I saw a face as sharply sculpted and handsome as if carved by a knife. While I was stunned by his appearance, he said, "Hello. My master asked me to give you this umbrella. You're blocking the light here, so please leave." I stood there awkwardly, took the umbrella, and fled in embarrassment. I visited the temple several more times afterward, and never saw him again. It wasn't until I later read the news that I discovered he was Hugo, the heir to the Hugo family conglomerate. And so things developed naturally. I fell in love at first sight. I searched high and low. I clung persistently. And then I died miserably. In hindsight, I only have myself to blame. The Buddhist son had clearly rejected me many times and already had someone in his heart. That day, I insisted on tailing his Maybach just to see what the girl he liked looked like. After deciding to follow, I thought I had let go. I had planned to satisfy my curiosity and then gracefully wish them well. But instead of laying down the butcher's knife, I ascended to heaven on the spot. As expected, stalkers meet bad ends. This time, I will become a Buddha on the spot. At that moment, I piously held Hugo's wrist. 2 seconds later, I realized it was inappropriate and let go, instead holding the Buddha beads on his wrist from a distance. Hugo's eye twitched. "What did you say?" I cleared my throat and said solemnly, "Benefactor, your Buddha beads need to be replaced." Before Hugo could respond, I quickly added, "Have you been having troubles in love? Has your beloved recently grown distant from you?" If I remembered correctly, this was when his Buddhist wife was having a conflict with him. Hugo's gaze instantly changed. He withdrew his hand, nervously glanced around, and lowered his voice, "Let's talk in private." Only then did I realize we were in his family's backyard. I followed Hugo to the main hall, where he brewed a pot of aged white tea. A delicate teacup was placed before me, and he gestured for me to drink, as if forgetting that just a moment ago, I had been pestering him. To be honest, I've been having a conflict with the person I like recently. She said the feeling I give her isn't what she wants. And then she blocked me. The feeling she wants? Was his Buddhist wife being that abstract? I forced myself to ask, is it the kind of feeling where you defy worldly norms, and sink into each other regardless of everything? Hugo looked troubled, and not sure. But before we quarreled, She posted a status on moments that I think might be like what you described. I took the phone he handed me. It was his Buddhist wife's moments boast. The world is sinking. And we are in love. Perfect. The formula fits. I asked him. Then, let out a low sigh. Your beloved sorry. What does she like to do in her spare time? Hugo rubbed the back of his head. No special hobbies. Just drinking tea. Playing the gukuen. And doing some calligraphy and painting. I had a vague premonition and tentatively asked. Is your beloved a Chiangzam beauty? He clapped his hands. How did you know? She loves wearing Chiangzam the most. The scent is right, Beijing's Buddhist sun and the Chiangzam beauty. This is right up my alley. I put down my teacup and sat up straight. That's why I said you need new Buddha beads. As the Buddhist son of Beijing's elite, you must always wear Buddha beads. And they need to be very eye-catching. Hugo understood and asked, just eye-catching enough? I pretended to be mysterious. Being eye-catching alone isn't enough. I'll be honest with you, I specialize in this. I happen to have a string of excellent blood sandalwood Buddha beads. You just need to take them to the temple and pray for what's in your heart. All your wishes related to love will come true. But only love-related ones. It won't work for more. Watching Hugo deep in thought, I wondered if I had overplayed my role. Although Hugo wasn't a true Buddhist master, he was at least a disciple of the abbot of Jingmian Temple. When Hugo was young, he had poor health. Once, after a high fever that didn't improve after seeing numerous experts, he happened to meet the abbot of Jingmian Temple begging for alms. The abbot pointed out that Hugo was physically weak and had a calamity in his fate. By chance, he took Hugo as a disciple. Even if he only went to the temple once a month to do odd jobs and receive guidance from his master. What if he had actually learned something genuine? My heart grew more nervous. And my gaze toward him began to waver. Hugo thought for a moment. And his eyes lit up with excitement. There's really such a good thing? Apparently, heading fulfilled my MSI. My worries were unnecessary. I felt my rose-tinted glasses starting to crack. But it didn't matter anymore when a big spender comes to your door. How can you not take advantage? However, you know good things are priceless. If the price isn't right, I can't bear to take out my treasure from the bottom of my trunk. As I spoke, I silently held up 5 fingers. 500,000 and you on this big spender will be scared. Hugo looked at my 5 fingers and frowned. As long as you can help me fulfill my wish. This small amount of money is nothing. The corners of my mouth nearly reached my ears. I quickly took out my bank card details. Hugo took out his phone and called his assistant. Yes. Transfer 5 million to this account from my personal account. Was I dreaming? Did I hear correctly? 5 million, good. Good. Your small amount, and my small amount, seem very different. I resisted the urge to jump for joy and reached out to stop the call. What's wrong? Do you feel sorry for me and want to give me a discount? I quickly waved my hands. My language system collapsing from overexcitement. With difficulty, I said, don't forget to draw up a transaction contract. The stamped kind. Words are not proof. What if he asks for the money back if it doesn't work? Once the money was in hand, our transaction began. I said I needed to go back to fetch the treasure and also design a complete love-chasing plan for him. Hugo escorted me to the gate of the villa and instructed the driver to send me home safely. He solemnly entrusted me. It's all up to you, Master. Drawing on my years of novel reading experience, I carefully prepared a unique plan for the Buddhist son and his Buddhist wife. A week later, I went to Hugo's villa with a string of beads bought for 9.9 yuan with free shipping from Pinduoduo. He said we should discuss the plan in his study. I quickly stopped him. We can discuss it in the main hall. Ask your nanny and security guards to stay here too. Otherwise, if your wife asks later, it will be hard to explain being alone in a study with a man. Hugo suddenly realized, you're right. Truly a master. So meticulous and thoughtful. I handed him the elegant box containing the Buddha beads, indicating that this was the string I had mentioned. I assumed an authoritative tone, relying solely on the treasure's power as to slow. Your own cultivation is equally important. This is the first lesson I need to teach you. Hugo led me to sit at the round wooden table where we had tea before. Please elaborate. The feeling your wife pursues is the basic quality you, as the Buddhist son of Beijing's elite, should possess. You clearly lack it at present. As a Buddhist son, you must first exude an ascetic aura. You should be above worldly desires. In your eyes, all women should be mere living beings. Except your wife, who is special. You must maintain a distant relationship with everyone except her. Understand? As soon as I finished speaking, Hugo had already taken out a notebook and pen to take notes. So diligent and eager to learn. I continued my plan. Second, there's the matter of personal style. I glanced sideways and met Hugo's eager gaze, showing no sign of doubt. Emboldened, I went on, your current attire is too businesslike. Everyone knows you're the Buddhist son of Beijing's elite. Besides appearing noble, you need to look untouched by worldly dust. Take off those high-end suits and occasionally wear something that creates a contrast for your wife. If you wear the same thing every day, she'll take it for granted. Hugo immediately made a call, instructing his assistant to order several outfits from the Qingzhan tailor his wife often patronized. Also, you smell too clean. Burn some sandalwood at home to let your clothes absorb a faint and a wold scent. Hugo, brilliant. Truly brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? Finally, get a Sanskrit tattoo on your wrist with the line from your wife's moment's boast. And make sure everyone can see it. Looking at Hugo's densely packed notes, I took a satisfied sip of tea. These are just theories. Next, let's have a special training on practical content. The scene shifted to the back garden, and I began Hugo's special training. May I ask what your wife's name is? Hugo's face turned red. Her name is Nina. The Pure Love Buddha disciple is online. Alright. Now it's a language training for you. Come. Say Nina, I like you. So I can assess your basics. Hugo bit his lip and said shyly, Nina, I like you. No. That's completely wrong. I corrected him, that's not the feeling. You need to sound abstinent, hoarse, and powerful at the same time. Try again. Hugo adjusted his posture. I rambled on. But he only took, powerful, to heart. Nina. I, like, you. Good Lord. Even the hibernating soft-shell turtles in the pond would be awakened by this. I think Hugo isn't a Beijing Circle Buddha disciple, maybe he's the 2nd Battalion commander of battling. I made excuses for him. Maybe this sentence is too monotonous. Add some content. Nina. I like you. Why can't you look at me? For you, having fulfilled my insertion, I would fall into the abyss without regret. Hugo felt a bit embarrassed to say this. I encouraged him. You have to put in the effort to get that feeling. Listen, let out a low sigh. When you say her name, use some vocal fry like the hysteria of wanting to tear her apart and swallow her whole. And the 4 words, I like you, need to be so gentle that people want to drown in them. Most importantly, 4. Why can't you look at me? You must add a touch of choking like you're about to break apart. Finally, having fulfilled lay, the last sentence should be firm, emphasizing extreme devotion. Got it? I truly wanted to break it down and feed it to him piece by piece. Hugo mustered up courage and prepared to go. Nina. I like you. Why can't you look at me? For you, having fulfilled my session. Sorry. Master. I broke character. I held my forehead and smiled bitterly. This is too hard to teach. This is the worst batch I've ever trained. Don't you Beijing Circle Buddha disciples undergo any professional training before graduation? Where is your professional integrity? Well, let's call it a day for today's special training. We'll continue another day. I handed him my carefully compiled Buddha disciple quotations. This book contains lines for various scenarios. Just memorize them and apply the formulas. Remember the trick: 3 parts restraint, 3 parts hysteria, 3 parts abstinence, and 1 part scarlet at the corners of the eyes. Hugo took the book with both hands. Don't worry. I'll practice hard. I'm looking forward to the day of practice. The day of practice came faster than expected. While Hugo was training diligently, the Buddha disciple's wife was also not idle. One bright morning, Hugo called to say that his wife was swabbering in a high-end restaurant with her new lover. I asked him, "Where are you now?" A voice came from the other end of the phone. "I'm standing outside the restaurant right now. Not sure how to act. Come quickly and help me think of a plan." I fully woke up from my sleep. How could there be such a stupid domineering president? I rushed over and found Hugo sneaking around outside the restaurant, pacing back and forth. I grabbed his wide sleeve. Listen. Here's the plan for this practice. When we rush in, you go straight to your wife. Look at her with loving eyes. Ask if she's finished eating. Tell her to come with you because you have something to say. Then drag her into the car and pour out all the lines we practiced. Hugo instantly gained confidence. Got it. Let's go. To avoid making his wife uncomfortable, I stayed 50 meters behind Hugo, observing remotely. I saw Hugo striding toward Nina. So far, so good. I couldn't hear what they said, but I saw Nina's face gradually turn shy. Just as they were about to leave, I saw Nina signal with her eyes. Following her gaze, I saw the so-called new lover sitting across from her. The new lover had a roguish handsome vibe, different from Hugo. I quickly moved closer to observe the situation. I heard the new lover say, Hugo, if you want to take my person, you should at least get my consent. Then the new lover clapped his hands. And a group of bodyguards wearing sunglasses and black suits suddenly emerged from all around. I didn't expect the other side to be a professional. Well prepared. The air froze for 2 seconds. Hugo turned his head and mouthed to me. What should I do? I didn't bring bodyguards. I rushed to the battlefield, in 3 steps. Spreading my arms like a mother hen protecting her chicks. Blocking in front of Hugo and Nina. You go first. I'll cover the retreat. I whispered to them. Behind me came Hugo's nearly choking voice. Master. Thank you so much. I will definitely complete the mission. And he pulled Nina and left without looking back. Looking at the dozen or so big men taller than me, I put down my bag, rolled up my sleeves, and started doing warm-up radio calisthenics. Seeing my imposing manner, the other side thought I was a hidden master. They all turned to the new lover's brother for guidance on what to do next. Before the new lover's brother could speak, I pointed at him. When our eyes met, I beckoned. Yes. It's you. Listen carefully. The bodyguards assumed a stance ready to fight. I let out a faint sneer. Then I dropped to my knees with a thump. Please. Everyone. Let them go. I'm begging you. The air froze again for 2 seconds. A new lover's brother couldn't help but snort with laughter. I thought he was mocking my overconfidence. As I rubbed my hands like a fly, I said, I'm really sorry. Big brother. Better to destroy 10 temples than 1 marriage. You're so handsome. You can't interfere in other people's relationships. I looked up and spoke righteously. But the new lover's brother suddenly stopped laughing. He stared at me, as if trying to recognize something. I felt uneasy under his gaze. Sina? Huh? Is he calling me? How does he know my name? The new lover's brother continued, don't you remember me? The shot fired in you finally hit the heart years later. Who would have thought that the new lover's brother in front of me was Leon? The school bully from high school? And I just happened to have a grudge with him. It's not a blood feud. Just trivial matters from school days. Although I'm now in the business of scamming people, I was a proper top student back then, ranking among the top in my grade. Once, during a midterm exam, Leon was sitting behind me and asked me to pass him a note. He thought I'd agree out of deskmate camaraderie. Unexpectedly, I pretended to agree but secretly reported him to the dean. Because the cheating attempt failed, the school didn't give Leon a disciplinary record, just made him read a self-criticism over the radio. For a school bully like Leon, this was more painful than a record. That day, as we passed each other, he threatened, just you wait. Who knew he'd suddenly transfer schools while I was waiting? Only these scattered fragments remain in my memory. Leon's words were like a splash of clear water, wiping the dust from the window of my memory. The new lover's brother, Leon, smiled harmlessly. Even dazzlingly handsome. Sina. Are you still safeguarding and escorting others' love? You have so much free time. I looked up at him and suddenly realized I was still kneeling in a formal bow. I quickly patted my clothes and stood up, smiling obsequiously. Well, since we're old classmates, don't make things difficult for me. I'll just go now. Bye. I grabbed my bag and prepared to run. But Leon shouted, stop. Oh no, no. Am I going to die here for the Buddha disciples' love? Leon stood up and walked toward me, since you called us old classmates. Of course I should see you off. Let's go. I was carried into Leon's car weak, helpless, and pitiful. Leon broke the awkward silence first. Are you Hugo's nanny? No, 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 you think too highly of me. I'm President Hugo's matchmaker. Matchmaker? I nodded repeatedly. Yes. Yes. So I must tell you, Nina and Hugo are meant to be. Even if Nina told you they broke up, that's just couples play. You're just a part of their role-playing. Leon smiled instead of getting angry. But why should I care? I was shocked. How can you not care? To put it bluntly, you're the other man. The two-other man. Isn't that beneath you? Leon fell silent. I guessed he truly loved Nina and was willing to be the other man for love. Now suddenly realizing he was just her tool, anyone would find it hard to accept. He stayed silent, calming down. I continued to persuade, even if you like her, you can't interfere in others' relationships. Understand? The car stopped steadily. Seeing he didn't respond, I didn't push further. Unfastened my seatbelt and prepared to get out. He called out to me, "You're right. But I just love her. What can I do? How about we add each other on WeChat? And you introduce someone to me?" I was glad that this kid grasped it so quickly. Hugo made rapid progress under my guidance. In less than a week, he successfully won back the heart of the Cheongsan beauty. He called me Master. I did as you taught. I've mastered Buddha disciple quotations. And Nina says this is exactly the feeling she wants. I replied politely, I absolutely meet clients' requirements and never let customers waste their money. I have high professional integrity. Yeah. I recommended you to my brothers. And they helped promote you. Soon many people will come to you for help. Don't thank me, it's what I should do. I had planned to retire after this job, but I stood there stunned. My studio was established in such a confused way. It specifically helps young masters and Buddha disciples from various regions solve relationship problems. I sit at a large conference table, carefully listening to their demands. Professional integrity is fully demonstrated. Prince of Henan, the girl I like has a strong temper. How do you suggest I chase her? Me, I recommend you first obtain a Mandarin proficiency certificate. Then minor in bubble voice training. Here. This string of Buddha beads will bless you to pass the SEC and level aim Mandarin exam. Prince of Shandong, my girlfriend insists on breaking up, saying her family disagrees. I'm handsome and wealthy, what more can I do? Me, I suggest you take the civil service exam and propose in an administrative jacket. This string of Buddha beads will help you succeed in the exam. Hold on to it. Prince of Hebe, I didn't do well in school and got into an on-top university. While the girl I like is in a 985. How can I catch up to her? Me, I recommend repeating a year at Hangshui High School to sprint for Tingshui University. Here. Take this academic success bead string. Prince of Shanghai Circle, my girlfriend says I lack relaxed vibes, and she feels nothing with me. Me, quit me Zhu Bing Cheng a budget bubble tea chain and do regular, city walks every week. The Prince of Guangdong enters. He's jingling around his waist, looking at his flip-flops. I earnestly advise, stop taking your girlfriend to remote, mountain rural areas, for old-fire double-boiled soup. She might think you're trafficking her. Finally, heading for Selbyadsi. A prince from an unknown region arrives. I have money, power, and all the right rituals. I've done everything you said. But why does my girlfriend never sound affectionate when she calls my name? I ask. What's your name? Fine. Change it. No domineering CEO is named Ethan. Pick a new one. Just like that. Half of the dozens of Buddha bead strings I bought from Pinduoduo sold out in an afternoon. As I send off the last prince and prepare to close the shop, Leon walks in. Didn't you promise to introduce me to a girlfriend? You forget me once business booms? Brother New Love truly lives up to his name. Stop kidding. With how fast you changed girlfriends in high school, do you really need my help? Though Leon used to be a little non-mainstream with a head of yellow hair, his looks were his empire. Which eye of yours saw me changing girlfriends quickly? Everyone says so. Leon rolls his eyes. You know those are rumors. Seeing is believing. Okay? Let's go, I'll treat my matchmaker to dinner and we can discuss finding me a girlfriend properly. He tugs at my sleeve, dragging me toward the door. Just then, my phone rings. It's Hugo. Master. Something's wrong. Nina wants to break up with me again. What did you do? Nothing. We were fine a few days ago. I even gave her the Buddha beads you gave me. I did an interview yesterday. And this morning she broke up with me. She's at a CAF now. I'm driving to see her. Driving. So today is the day Hugo chases his love on the overpass in a Maybach. I've been so busy selling Buddha beads I forgot about this. I reply, okay. Go ahead. Send me your location, I'll bring back up. Leon asks, what's wrong? No time for dinner, I have an emergency. Go ahead. We'll eat next time. After pushing away the confused Leon, I immediately call my Buddhist prince love chasing team. In my past life, I struggled alone as a lovesick fool. In this rebirth, I've learned to lead a team. I will safeguard the Buddhist prince's love. When we arrive at the dramatic love scene between the Beijing Circle Buddhist prince and the Qiangzhen beauty, the beauty is in tears. Tell me, when reporters asked if we were together, why did you tell them not to speculate? You might as well have told everyone you looked down on me. I didn't realize until now. It reminds me of the Buddhist prince's quotations. When others gossip about your relationship, warn them not to dare speculate about your woman. Or else. Conclusion, Hugo memorized the wrong answers. Nina continues accusing. And that stupid Buddha beat, everyone's whispering I got dumped by you, and now I'm so heartbroken I want to become a nun with these beads. Growing angrier, she yanks off the beads and throws them at Hugo. This was a key point I emphasized. I specifically told Hugo to wear the beads in public to let the media see them. And to spread a story that he falls ill if others touch the beads. But not Nina. Looks like Hugo forgot everything except the beads. After throwing the beads, Nina turns and runs. Nina, listen to me explain. I leap forward to stop Hugo, signaling my team to start. The artificial rain atmosphere crew takes position. The tragic love background music team is in position. I pull out an eyeshadow palette and apply a thick layer of burgundy eyeshadow to Hugo's lower lash line. The scarlet at the corner of the eye crew is also in position. I give. Nina turns and runs. Nina, listen to me explain. I leap forward to stop Hugo, signaling my team to start. The artificial rain atmosphere crew takes position. The tragic love background music team is in position. I pull out an eyeshadow palette and apply a thick layer of burgundy eyeshadow to Hugo's lower lash line. The scarlet at the corner of the eye crew is also in position. I give Hugo a reassuring look as he chases after Nina. I can barely remember how I once loved him. Now I'm focused on being a left security guard and making money. Earning from these clueless rich folks brings me more joy than aiding someone with such poor judgment. Hugo catches up to Nina by a small lake around the corner. He pulls her into his arms and starts bleeding. Nina, listen, the media took my words out of context. I'll call them right away to set the record straight. Nina, true to her Qiangzhen beauty status, traps Hugo with a single tear at the corner of her eye. The real battle begins. Light rain starts falling, droplets clinging to Hugo's long lashes like shimmering crystals, making him look both fragile and forbidden. The red at the corners of his eyes adds a touch of taboo and brokenness. I look up to see my team climbing the fence to pour more artificial rain on Hugo. Did we truly love this job? But Sister Buddhist isn't ordinary. She craves the tension of going crazy for love and reuniting after brokenness. In one motion, Nina pushes Hugo away and breaks free from his embrace. I'll never believe you again. We're done, completely over. As she speaks, she removes her priceless engagement ring and hurls it into the lake. The BGM crew plays a Sakori and Rama theme song. With a glance, I signal for the rain to pour harder. It looks ridiculous from afar. But it doesn't matter, the leads are too absorbed to notice how silly this is. I shoot Hugo a look, and he quickly moves to the next step. He scoops Nina up, carries her to the car, and drives off. The rest is up to his own instincts. I pay the love-chasing team on the spot. After confirming everyone has left, I take out my gear: swimming goggles, a headlamp, and an oxygen tank. Without the rose-tinted glasses for Hugo, I realize I'm a mediocre genius at making money. Scavenging from CEO's tragic love stories? An ex-CEO could be me. Nina's ring is worth a fortune. I don't even have the patience to count its zeros. This lake isn't just a lake. It's a golden temple of wealth. I gear up and dive in without hesitation. Out of the corner of my eye, I see someone running toward me. Seconds later, a strong force yanks me out of the water. I think it's a water ghost seeking revenge. A furious voice rings out, "Are you insane? Why are you trying to drown yourself, Leon?" I cough up water. "You're the insane one. Look at this lake, could it even drown someone?" Leon seems more composed now. He looks around and realizes we're standing in shallow water. He lets go of my collar. Looking embarrassed, he makes excuses. "Then what are you doing here? Swimming?" "I'm looking for something. Don't interfere with your father's money making. Once I find the ring, I'll take all the money I've scammed these past days and disappear. No more dealing with these clueless rich people." "You're looking for Nina's ring? How did you know it's hers?" Leon looks sheepish. "I saw her throw it. So this guy really loves Nina. Fine. Whatever, if you block me again, I'll make sure the onlookers call the police." Seeing he's not stopping me, I dive back into the water. I search underwater, annoyed by Leon's constant muttering above. Luckily, having fulfilled my obsession, the lake is calm today. It doesn't take long to find the ring. Leon keeps talking, but I can't make out the words. I surface, holding the ring high. "I found it." But instead of my own voice, I hear, "Even though you're a little crazy, I've liked you since then." A breeze ripples the lake. After a long silence, I wonder if I crossed into a parallel universe while underwater. So the shot I fired in my youth didn't hit me, it turned into a Cupid's arrow and struck Leon. "I waited ages to be your desk mate, but you ignored me every day to study." I twitch. "I was trying to study. Who has time for meteor guard and drama with you?" Now Leon sits across from me, blushing as he recounts his old crush. "So all those rumors were fake?" He turns redder. "Of course. I secretly liked you for over 2 years. When would I have had time for other girlfriends? Sorry then. I was too oblivious to notice. But after I reported you for cheating, you stopped liking me, right?" As if poking a wound, he nearly jumps up. "Don't even mention that. The note I gave you, it wasn't for answers." I remember I later threw that note directly into the trash can. "Then why did you give me the note? Were you afraid I'd run out of toilet paper?" Leon laughed out of frustration. "That was my love letter." "Yes, kinda too. Looking back, it was immature of me to give you a love letter during an exam. I realize my mistake now. Anyway, you didn't know it was a love letter and reported me instead. Just consider it my punishment. You also said you'd make me wait back then. I thought you were going to take revenge on me." Leon was even more speechless. "I meant for you to wait for me. I rewrote another love letter for you. I thought you understood my feelings. So you intentionally distanced yourself from me afterward. Is that why you transferred schools?" He turned his head away. "Partly, I guess." I sat next to him and patted his shoulder. "Sis is sorry for you. It was all a misunderstanding. Now that we've cleared it up, we're like family from now on. Who wants to be your brother? Then we can be siblings." He kept his head down, and I saw his long eyelashes. "You like Hugo, don't you?" How did he figure that out? Seeing my confusion, he explained. "Nina told me. She said you like him." This was so awkward. How did the Chiangs and Beauty find out? That was a long time ago. I don't like him anymore. Look, I'm even his love bodyguard now. He's too clueless. I prefer smart people. I wonder if Leon took my words to heart. For several days, I didn't see him at all. When I received another call from Hugo, he said he was going to propose. "You've mastered the skills now. Just get along well with your wife. I won't crash the party." I was packing my things to leave. Although Hugo isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, he's still a Beijing Circle Buddha disciple. If he ever realizes I've been playing him, I'll be in big trouble. I hung up the phone and finished packing in an instant. Not long after, Hugo called again. "Master, I succeeded in proposing. Nina and I have already planned the wedding. You must attend. If you don't come, I'll consider you derelict in your duty." And you'll have to return my money. Damn capitalist. The wedding of the Beijing Circle Buddha disciple and the Qianzhen beauty was extremely grand. Hugo's background was already impressive, and Nina's was no less distinguished. This thought eased my guilt a bit after all. I had already sold that ring. In front of the Grand Hotel entrance stood the bride's family greeting guests. Next to them was Leon, dressed in a suit and looking surprisingly dashing. I walked up and studied him closely. He avoided my gaze, looking highly guilty. A dignified woman in a Qianzhen approached and chided Leon. Leon, you're slacking off again. It's your sister's wedding, can't you make things easier for me? Come here and greet your uncle. Leon. Nina was his biological sister. He had hidden that well. I remembered scolding him for being a mistress before. I wanted to dig a hole and crawl in. But not right now. Eating the wedding feast was more important. As I watched the bride and groom's affectionate vows on stage, I couldn't help but recall my past feelings for Hugo. I had once fantasized about my own wedding with him. But after a near-death experience, I realized I didn't truly love him. The joy of seeing him and Mina happily married now outweighed any lingering feelings. Out of nowhere, I thought of Leon. What a trickster. When it came time for the bride and groom to exchange rings, Hugo tenderly took Nina's hand and slipped the ring onto her finger. Wait. That ring looked familiar. Wasn't that the one I'd fished out of the lake? As I panicked, Leon sat down beside me. I bought back the ring after you sold it. Why would you do that? Leon looked into my eyes seriously. In case Nina becomes your sister-in-law someday. If she found out about this, she'd cause a scene. I'm helping you smooth things over with your future sister-in-law in advance. You have some nerve. I asked again. Did you give the ring directly to Hugo? Of course not. You worked hard to fish it out. Why should he get it for free? I bought it back, threw it back into the lake, and convinced him to fish it out. My sister was so moved. How else do you think she said yes? People really shouldn't have too much free time. I teased him. You're so kind to your brother-in-law. Whatever. I had an ulterior motive anyway. Before I could ask what he meant, Nina and Hugo arrived to toast our table. Nina gave me a strange look, then turned to Hugo and said, "Is this our future sister-in-law?" Hugo explained to me, "Sorry, Sina, it's not that I want the money back. Leon begged me to make sure you came to the wedding. He helped me out, so I couldn't refuse." Nina smiled and said, "It's okay. We're all family. Sina won't mind." With that, they moved to the next table. "So you spent all that money just to get me to this wedding and meet me?" Leon evaded the question. "Not entirely. It was also for my sister's happiness. You could have just given me the money, it'd even be a flower girl for your sister." He smiled triumphantly, feeling sorry for my wallet. "I've already handed over my salary card. You can spend as much as you want. I'll get you anything." I couldn't stand his smugness. "Fine. I want that ring. Hand it over." "Okay. I'll steal it tonight. Get kicked out of the house tomorrow. And we can sleep under a bridge together." I scoffed. "In your dreams." After a moment, I added, "Thinking about where to sleep is too soon. Let's start with the date." By the wedding stage of stage lights, I saw him grinning widely. After the wedding, Leon drove me home. In the car, he suddenly took my hand. "Sina, I didn't transfer schools because of you. My family had some issues. But after meeting you, I finally understood what it means to like someone." Looking at his serious expression, I smiled. "So how do you plan to pursue me?" He raised an eyebrow. "Do I need to ask?" "With my heart. Of course." And he waved his phone. "I've already acquired your studio. From now on, you focus on dating, and I'll take care of you." I glared at him. This is abuse of power for personal revenge. But he suddenly leaned in and kissed me. "Yes. Personal revenge for you leaving without a word all those years ago." As the streetlight swept across his profile, I thought, this former school bully, this new lover guy, might just be adorable. It turns out that after life's detours, my true destiny wasn't the lofty Buddha disciple, but this ordinary man willing to drop everything for me. The Buddha disciple's love story has come to a happy end, but mine is just beginning. May all who missed each other reunite around the corner, and may all sincere hearts be treated with tenderness. After all, In love, there's no such thing as too late only, just right.